Welcome to the Nerd Citadel. Everyone's dead.
Anyway, welcome to the Nerd Citadel. In a previous video a little while ago, Chris, in anticipation of the release of Superman Red Son, did a review of the original graphic novel. And ironically, I'm the one who has seen the movie so far, and he has not.
I didn't want to pay money.
I'm going to review the movie, and
I'm going to react.
And Chris is going to react based on the original story as presented in the graphic novel. So, Superman Red Son, for the most part, followed the beats of the graphic novel, the main beats, but there were some differences in some of the characterization, as well as some, or at least one very major event that was left out that really kind of cheapened the experience. And it pains me to say this because so far, I love all the DC animated stuff. It's what they've been really good at. But yeah, they kind of dropped the ball on this one. It pains me to say.
Well, let's talk about, I guess, I know you were saying when we talked earlier that, that there are small changes throughout and a couple of major ones. So why don't you just walk us through the movie and let us, talk about Russian Superman.
So the movie opens with, I think throughout the movie, they pretty much just call him Superman.
Yeah, I don't think they ever gave his human name.
They do in the very beginning, but it's of no importance to the whole movie.
His name is Clarkanov Kentovnia.
So it starts with a bunch of bullies are chasing Clark through the cornfield, and Lana is trying to defend him, and he runs and hides. She's throwing rocks at the bullies. They go away. He reappears behind her, and she tells him not to be, that he can't continue to be afraid, and she can't keep looking after him. He says that he's not afraid of them. He's afraid that he will hurt them, and shows her that he can pick up a tractor. Then he flies up into the sky holding her, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And yeah, that's pretty much all we see of Superman as a child in this movie.
Okay, because from what I remember reading the comic, I don't even think the comic contained anything about his childhood, other than just saying, yeah, he crashed here and this is who raised him, but he was Superman from the start of the comic to the end.
I don't know. I don't remember the exact opening of the comic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the comic opens with Stalin presenting Superman to the world.
Right. Well, that's kind of where I'm pretty sure that's where it went next. But
that's a good thing granted, anyone who knows Superman knows his general origin. Rural kid, grew up getting picked on because he was a little weird, a little different, but he had his powers from a young age. Excuse me. Learning to harness and control them. But it's a nice little visual cue, especially when you're changing so much about a character's culture and upbringing, yada, yada, yada. To give at least a little something to hold on to be like, okay, well, this aspect of his life hadn't really changed.
So anyway, Stalin comes out and he introduces Superman to the world. Of course, the United States thinks it's just propaganda. We get a brief introduction to Lex Luthor and Lois Lane Luthor.
History's douchebag.
And the characterization of Luthor throughout this, I thought he's a little bit of a dick, but they didn't make him enough of a dick.
Yeah, because, anyone who's seen my video on Red Son or has read Red Son knows that, Lex Luthor is one of the most, unapologetically annoying dickheads on the planet. That, and you did remind me, he does kill a few people.
Right, and they didn't make him pompous enough.
Pompous, that's the word I was going for. He's a pompous douchebag.
He clearly loves his wife in this, which clearly in the graphic novel, she's more of a formality.
Yeah.
So Superman is, out there as the defender of Soviet Russia, and also Lex asks the president for permission to crash a satellite on Metropolis. So the satellite drops out of the sky. Superman goes and saves Metropolis because he wants to be the protector of the whole world, not just one country.
Right.
And he wants the other countries, specifically the United States, because they seem to be the key player, the key world power that is still resisting him.
Why do you resist Russian Superman? I just want proletariat uprising to redistribute wealth back to the people of the country. Yes, the means of production. Workers seize the means.
But anyway, so he comes, he saves
You're frozen,
the United States. He has a brief conversation with Lois Lane at night.
Chris, you're frozen. Well, folks, looks like it's just you and me. How you feeling? Are you staying safe? Are you washing your hands regularly? I mean, I know it's not always something you think to do. I'm sure I've missed it a few times, but I think together we can get through this. And I think we will come out better as a culture and as a people. Well, it appears I'm the host now. So I have the curtains drawn. Nothing against the beautiful weather outside, but I want to maintain proper lighting. And I hope you all are getting enough sun as well. So that's my Telecaster. I am a musician before all else. It's probably what I should stick to. Not very entertaining. But let's pull her out. We can talk about it. So what you have here is a made in China Fender, but the quality speaks for itself. This is the Fender Modern Player Telecaster Thin Line Deluxe. It is I believe, mahogany body, semi-hollow with an F-hole. It does increase the acoustic sound of the guitar, while also adding to the woodiness of the tone. Mahogany is a little bit thicker, heavier wood, and is known to transfer a little more of low end, and is usually balanced with a snappier fretboard and neck wood, which brings us here. We have, it's a maple neck and maple fingerboard. It's very snappy. It's a very bright tone with a lot of attack. And I don't know about you, but I do like some attack. I am quite the palm muter and plucker. So I like to stand out in the mix. We have, the classic Telecaster style head, 6 inline tuners. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, yeah, no, I'm still recording. I'm talking about my guitar now. Do you want me to invite you back? Oh, sure. Hold on just a second, folks. This is Chris of the Nerd Citadel. Let's see here. Oh. Where the frig do I get them? Okay. I've got the meeting ID right here, if you are ready. It is 83935. Okay. All right. Yeah. Don't. Yeah. Connect your audio. Well.
Can you hear me?
Look who decides to rejoin. I was just talking about how the maple neck and fretboard material really adds to the snappiness and clarity of a tone, and how a mahogany body wood really balances out the snappiness with a warm, dense low end. What were we doing today?
All right, so Superman goes back to the Capitol building or whatever they call it in Russia, and he x-rays the floor basically and sees that there's lead to keep him seeing from whatever's underneath. He goes down there. There's like underground mining operation going on, like slave workers, and Stalin's been keeping this from him.
Oh, those wascally Wussians.
He sees Lana, and she says how she knew he would come for it. He would come for her, and all that stuff. And then he sees a little boy that says, "Did you not hear our crying?" And this little boy is clearly pissed off, and then bats fly up from behind him.
That's a little on the nose. I wonder who he turns out to be.
So that was one of the things. I like the way the comic did it better, where we actually see that his parents' death can be blamed on Superman.
Right.
Or at least blamed on the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I was going to say, because in the comic, it was Peter.
Yeah, he's supposed to be Pete Ross he's supposed to be Superman's like childhood friend, Pete Ross.
Oh, gotcha, yeah. So Peter, in the comic, was responsible for some time ago quelling some anti-Stalin people and anti-Stalin movements, and he ended up, shooting personally and killing Batman's parents. He also shot young Bruce Wayne. But because he's a dickhead, he didn't finish the job. He shot the boy in the stomach and left, assuming that the kid would either bleed out or learn subservience.
Yeah, no, this was just, you see like his parents' body behind him. It looks like they just starved to death, basically.
Oh, that's not good.
And then you have the bats flying around. And
so on one end, as far as I remember from the comic too, Lana was never like subjected to any kind of torture. Like, she runs into Superman pretty early in the comic, and that's when it talks about his farm life. I don't think it shows any of it in any panels, but he remembers her. He's like, "Oh, Comrade Lana," and she's like, "Comrade, whatever the hell your name was. Oh, I knew it was you." And I'm pretty sure he asked Lana to keep that hush hush.
Yeah, well, he basically says that his name before doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, something like that. But I do like that you said that this movie touches on some of the more cruel aspects of Joseph Stalin's rule.
Right. So Stalin's been hiding this whole slave workforce from Superman, and he goes and confronts Stalin about it. After I think Lana actually dies in his arms when he breaks them out, and then he goes and confronts Stalin, and Stalin just basically tells him this is what was necessary. You'll understand that someday, yada yada yada. And his response is blasting heat vision through Stalin's chest.
Yeah, I think in the comic, Stalin he either dies of old age or Peter poisons him.
I'm pretty sure. I think he dies of old age.
Yeah, I know he dies old, but I also think Peter had something to do with it, because I know Peter conspires at some point against. Well, I know Peter in the comics sells Superman out to Batman and tells him how to beat Superman.
Yeah, Peter wasn't in this at all.
Oh, well, he was like not like the big villain, but like he was like the behind the scenes kind of mastermind trying to take over the Union for himself.
Yeah.
And he is also, from what I remember, the first person in the comic that you see with a Superman brain chip on.
Yep.
I went to doctor, feel much better now.
So he kills Stalin, and Stalin's men come bursting into the room, And when they see what happened, they see Superman standing there, they all just kneel to him. And yeah, and then you get the whole the Brainiac thing where Brainiac shrinks Stalingrad, and they're speaking on the news of how Superman's been working for years to figure out how to restore the city back to its original size. And he repurposes Brainiac to do his bidding. And at some point, I may get some of these events backwards, but at some point we then get Bizarro, who in this is not really Bizarro, and they call him Superior Man.
Yeah, and anyone who's seen the trailer knows that this isn't Bizarro because it's literally just Superman.
Yeah, just Superman with US on his chest.
Yeah. America first.
Jason Isaacs voices Superman.
Yeah.
Lucius Malfoy.
Yep.
And Diedrich Bader, who voiced Batman in Batman Brave and Bold, and he also voices Batman in the Harley Quinn show. He voices Batman in this.
Gotcha. I thought the voice sounded familiar in the trailers.
So the whole satellite thing was just so that Luthor could get his DNA to create Superior Man.
Right.
Superior Man flies over to Russia and attacks Superman, and it isn't doing so hot. So Luthor keeps upping the amount of energy that's somehow being remotely sent to Superior Man, and he starts becoming a little more monstrous and a little bit more Bizarro-like, but not really. His speech patterns become less Bizarro-like and more Hulk-like. He just gets bigger and beefier and uglier as the amount of energy is being sent to him, and keeps losing, and eventually just deteriorates.
Which sounds like a big misstep.
Yeah, so the whole idea with the presentation of Bizarro in the graphic novel was that, the whole point of this whole story is proving that Superman is more than just his upbringing. His need for justice is woven into his DNA. His desire to help people is part of his DNA. And that DNA is also present in Bizarro. So Bizarro ultimately sacrifices himself to get rid of the bomb and save. Or does it happen in Russia or does it happen in Metropolis?
I'm pretty sure it's Metropolis that it happens in.
Yeah.
Which is weird how, throughout the graphic novel, Superman saves Metropolis a bunch of times. Oh, you're frozen. Hello? You actually look a little bit like Rich Evans from Red Letter Media. You don't have that annoying laugh, though. Well, as we can see here, we have the frozen specimen, Chris Massey. Looking like he's actually trying to get out of his chair. Looks like his arms are starting to extend behind him. Maybe there was a knock at the door. Well, would you look at that? It's just us. I hope no one's gotten sick since our last time together. I would like to see us all come together and overthrow systems in place. But that is neither here nor there. So we had our 6 inline tuners, just standard Fender fare. Not entirely sure. The makeup of the nut might be graphite, might be bone. I'm not sure. We have the black dot inlays, 22 frets. But the real meat and potatoes of this instrument, the Fender MP90s. You see, with the MP90s, you have the
back. Hey.
I wasn't doing nothing. So, yeah, you were talking about Brainiac, having that part of Superman in him that makes him a hero.
Bizarro, not Brainiac.
That's what I meant to say, Bizarro. And yeah, you could say that the idea of being a hero is written into his DNA. I would even say it's that you can take it in a less scientific route in just that a lot of Superman comics, or the idea of Superman is just, all that power just wants the power cries to be used for goodness. And Brainiac was kind of designed to be a better hero.
Bizarro.
Shit.
Superior Man.
Superior Man was designed to be, at least in the comic, was designed to be a better hero than Superman.
Right.
And in his final moments, coming to a sense of clarity and realizing what he's done and what he's allowing to be done, his purpose overrode whatever his orders were. His purpose was to be a better hero, so that's what he decided to do. Either way, it's just, there's a lot of Superman in him, and
true American hero.
A true American hero. Me Bizarro!
So the Bizarro thing happens, and he disintegrates, and there's really no ultimate point to it other than show kind of the dickiness of Lex Luthor, because he basically tells Lois that he knew Bizarro would fail, and this was just and he knew he would die, and this was just to gain data.
Man, what a douche.
So, go through some other stuff a little quickly, because I think the main point is less of doing a full review and more discussing what I didn't like.
Yes, continue.
So, over in the Americas, we got Lex Luthor's little military operation discovers Green Lantern, Abin Sur's spaceship, and Lex literally cuts off Abin Sur's finger and takes the ring and gives it to Hal Jordan. They don't explain anything about why Hal Jordan is the right person for the ring. You know how they go deep into that in the comic?
Yeah, and how his insurmountable willpower just kept him alive in internment camps and
right. None of that. And when we eventually see the Green Lantern Corps a little bit later, we see John Stewart and Guy Gardner and some of the other ones in the background, but they never refer to any of them by name.
Oh, Princess, sorry, I dropped my cat.
Even though all the other Green Lanterns' names are listed in the credits, we don't get them by name in the actual show.
It seems like this movie spent more time going, hey, remember Green Lantern? Remember Bizarro?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of telling the story that it's adapting.
Right. It was just all nods.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially with the Green Lantern Corps, having Hal Jordan be like, eyes up, Stewart, and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Those were nods. But the story was more taking a lot of these characters and turning them on their heads.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception being Batman, who was probably the closest to his original person.
Well, no, I would say Wonder Woman was.
Okay, yeah.
Wonder Woman's arc was almost exactly the same. She comes over. Queen Hippolyta wants to stay out of man's world, but she thinks they should give Superman a chance and that he's trying to create a better world, and ultimately realizes that he's just like all the other male rulers of the past. And in his ultimate showdown with Batman, she breaks the lasso of truth, which Batman has used to bind her, and her hair turns white, and she breaks the power cell that's creating the red sun radiation. And then Batman detonates himself and blows up.
Right, yeah, well, as Batman does.
Because Batman in this is a terrorist.
Yes, he's a terrorist.
A domestic terrorist.
Now, real quick, one issue that I had with Wonder Woman breaking the lasso of truth is how that moment in the movie, how was it portrayed? Because I know in comics it's all still frame and you can only, show so much the idea of motion. But even then, I felt like it didn't feel like an impactful scene.
When she does it, well, they explain first that the reason it can be used to bind and control her is because part of her own soul is present in the lasso.
Ah,
So when she breaks it, she's like tearing out a piece of her soul.
gotcha. And doing that breaks her mind, and
Yes.
then she ends up basically a vegetable for a while.
Yeah, until she comes back later in the Green Lantern scene
Yep,
with white hair.
with white hair, and she's leading the Amazon against all of them, right?
Well, no, it's just in this scene. It's just her in the movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just her come in a white version of the Wonder Woman costume, and basically says she's there to stop the fighting, and because of her respect for their previous friendship, she's giving Superman one last chance to end this. And then she ultimately says that she's going to leave, and they're going to make Themyscira invisible again, and they're going to stay out of everything for the rest of human history.
Gotcha. Well, as far as I remember in the comic towards the end, the Amazons actually join the war, and Superman has to fight them too.
Right, but they don't do that in this.
Gotcha. Well, that was kind of a big deal, you think, especially because they spent so much time being such close friends. You would think that would be an emotional, impactful thing in the movie, but I guess. Remember Wonder Woman?
Yeah, but it just this was Red Sun Light.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I get that you can't show everything, even though the comic itself is a pretty short read.
Right, it is.
They really could have fit they could have fit 90% at least into it without cutting much out.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like they just wanted to go on the route of just like, Superman's the best guy, just like no one can beat him. Everyone that's against Superman is the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the comic had this moral grayness to a lot of characters, or you can understand why they did what they did. You know, Batman might have been a terrorist and all, but you understand why he was so against the Soviet Union and against Superman in general. Same thing with Bizarro. You have this creature that was built to be as strong as Superman, but to be the USA's version. And yeah, he's simple, he's dumb, but at the same time, a lot of what he does, he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Until Superman finally takes the time to speak to him and help him see that he's not doing the right thing, then he makes the ultimate sacrifice to be a hero. In this, it just seems like, well, Superman needs a bad guy.
Exactly.
Superman needs a bad guy. In the Green Lantern Corps, we understand why Hal Jordan was picked in the comic. I feel like Hal Jordan was one of the most dwelt on characters in the comic because they tell his whole backstory. Oh, you're freezing again. Well. Might find ourselves back in the Chris Citadel. Now, it's very interesting how Chris appears to be in the same pose this time that he was last time we lost him. Except somehow he looks less like Mike, like Rich Evans, and more like Mike, except with glasses. Mike's voice is a little deeper. His nose almost looks a little turned up, like he's sniffing something. Who am I to judge? I've got these big Dumbo ears I hide behind my hair. Well. Looks like it's just us again. You can see back there my table needs to be cleaned. Got some paperwork from my job. I'm currently laid off due to COVID-19. A candle I haven't lit in a while. Oh, hi. Welcome.
God, I don't know why this is so unstable this time.
Oh, maybe you have dumb internet.
I do have dumb internet. I have Service Electric because that's the only thing they offer here.
You couldn't get Comcast?
No, not an option here.
What?
No Comcast, no Verizon, just Service Electric.
That's stupid.
Yeah. So they charge me like $1 million a month just for like 25 meg internet.
Like, my internet's not like the best in the world, but it's pretty good. And I'm paying for like the lowest possible tier internet connection.
Right. And I'm paying for the lowest possible tier of Service Electric, and it's more expensive than like the higher tier for Comcast.
Jesus. How much do you pay a month?
It's like $85.
What? I pay like $62.
Yeah, I know. So
Yeah.
where was I?
We were talking about Superman Red Sun.
Thanks.
No, we talked about how the movie,
Red Sunlight.
yeah, Red Sunlight, how the movie takes a lot of, fairly, they're not like the most, they're not the characters with the most depth, but they're given something that we understand all of them.
Right.
And it seems like the movie took them and instead went, Superman just needs a villain in this part.
Exactly.
They pretty much make them all villains. So,
yes.
Which is a shame because I appreciated, even if they took the minuscule amount of care, I appreciated that there was something saying, it's not this, that world isn't just good and evil. Oh, looks like we're back to it.
Really?
I don't know if you heard that, but I did. I wish I knew what to do. Wish I knew what to say. It's always in the same pose, too. Always the same pose. Chris, stop sitting like that, and this will stop happening. That's how the internet works, folks. The things we do personally affects how the internet runs. Anyway, my desk, my table. You'll see that I have a candle. I haven't lit in a while. I probably should light that candle because I assume my apartment smells like garbage. I've been laid off. The sounds of Pottstown. That was the Pottstown anthem. We have, looks like PlayStation controller, remote for my wonderful Westinghouse TV. Paperwork from my job, from having to file for unemployment due to the COVID-19 situation. Allen wrenches, guitar cables, my maintenance tools, screwdrivers, because I like to perform basic routine maintenance on my instruments to keep them playing and feeling great. So, we were talking about the Fender NP90s. Now, these P90s run a little bit hotter than most standard P90s. I forget exactly, but I think they're 10.5 to 11.5K as far as how hot they're wound. But they still have the single coil clarity that I prefer in an instrument. There's a certain throatiness and woodiness that these achieve that most humbuckers don't. You get noise in the bridge or neck position, of course. It's par for the course with single coil pickups. But I actually kind of like the hum and hiss. I like dirty sounds. I'm practically a noise rocker. Yeah, they've got a good amount of low end, decent amount of high end, a nice character to the mid range. String through, just Fender bridge.
Okay, guitar Citadel, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Well, and then it has 2 volume and 2 tone knobs, and it's a great guitar. Next time we lose Chris, I'll play it for you.
Well, let's try to get through the rest of this before I get disconnected again. So after the Green Lantern thing, he flies to the United States, wants to take the fight to Luthor. Brainiac is in tow with his ship. Question.
Okay, in the comics, Superman did not want to take the fight to America because he didn't want to force them to bend to his will.
Right.
And him finally making that call was him kind of realizing that battle is like killing a lot of innocent people, and like he's like, I have to choose the lesser of 2 evils at this point. So what is that his method in the movie, or is he just kind of like over Luthor's shit?
It was the whole thing with Diana and the Green Lanterns, and I don't really understand too much why it led to him wanting to now take the fight to Luthor. They didn't do a really good job of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because every other nation other than like America, he hadn't taken any of them over. They more they believed in him, like pretty much in this universe. Superman's rule over communism actually led people to flourish for the most part.
And Brainiac, like in the comic, kept trying to convince him to take over by force. And that's kind of what happens, but they don't do a really good job of showing it.
Gotcha.
So he goes with Brainiac in tow to the White House and takes the fight to Luthor. Luthor comes out with his armor and fights Superman for a little bit. And then Brainiac basically turns on both of them. They end up fighting Brainiac. And Superman destroys Brainiac. But then Luthor's like, oh no, it set off a self-destruct mechanism in Brainiac's ship, which we know was actually caused by Luthor from the comics.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I was going to say, in the comic, I don't think there's much, I don't even think there is a fight, like a physical fight between Superman and Luthor.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he just grabs Luthor and takes him into the Brainiac's ship with him and is like trying to talk it out.
Yeah,
and then
physical altercation in this, because you need that for a movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, it has to be big and boomy and, loud explosions. In the comic, Superman tries to talk to Luthor about it, but then Brainiac just straight up like abducts him and sucks him into the ship. And Superman's like, why would you do that? And Brainiac's like, his level of intelligence is so high, he could have talked you into suicide in 30 seconds. This is even before Brainiac turns on Superman. He pretty much tells him, this is an act to preserve you and preserve your life. Luthor could have gotten you to kill yourself. He's too fucking smart. And then we know Luthor rigged the ship to blow up because in the comic it shows it and Superman knows it and everyone knows it. It's not a secret. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, you shouldn't have sucked someone of my intelligence into your ship because now I've rigged the whole thing to explode. I'm the smartest guy ever.
Now, the only indication we get of that is after Superman takes the ship into outer space, Luthor's sitting in his office because, well, he's president now, so he's sitting in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
He says how he came up with this whole plan, 20 years ago.
Of course, I think they have something like that in the comic too, where he's like,
right, but in the comic, they make it clear how intelligent he actually is. In this, not so much.
Right. They just make him Lex Luthor as animated series fans know him. Yeah, he's smart, but he's like not that smart.
Yeah, next we see him. He's stepping down as president, and now he just wants to spend his life with his wife, retired on a desert island, which isn't Luthor.
Yeah, no. See, in the comic, they talk about like during his presidency, like he develops an economic system that the whole world adopts, and where they're like, oh, it's an economic system we can't even put into words. It's so good. And the whole world adopts it, and we become a global society. And
they hinted that's kind of happening, but he just kind of says soon we're going to be like the United States of the world.
Yeah, so it's something like that, and that's pretty much what the world turns into in the comic. He continues his work into his old age. He doesn't continue being a president, and pretty much Lois is only kind of like there because, like, well, we're married.
But the problem is here. Everything the movie ends when Lois sees Superman standing in the crowd.
Gotcha. And
that's it.
And the movie leaves no ambiguity. She sees him, notices him. It's probably like a moment, or like she smiles and nods to him. Oh no, he's frozen in another position.
Oh, great.
Oh, I heard something. No, he's gone. Well, folks, my cat's whining to get on the bed. She's 20 years old and can't jump very well. I'll be right with you. Yes, hello. Tiny cat. Here you are, my love. And we're back. Yeah, I'm in pajamas at 6:35, but we're on lockdown. Welcome back. Yep. So I'm guessing like when she notices him, it's a very animated movie thing where like the little bit of shock and then like smile and a nod.
Kind of like, yeah.
And then he like smiles at her like, oh, you devil, you caught me.
Well, no, she like looks away for a second and he's gone.
Oh, gotcha.
But they leave out the most interesting part of the comic, which is where it turns out that Krypton was actually Earth in the future, and the sun turns red as it starts to go supernova.
Right.
And Jor-El, the L in Jor-El is what's left of the last name Luthor.
Yeah, because I know, like, because when Lex Luthor dies in the comic, of course, people are like, what was your life's greatest achievement? And he was like, well, defeating the alien, of course. Nothing's ever been as good.
Yeah.
But like he in his wake, he leaves a world that's ruled by like artists and like by creative people.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about like, oh well, there was Alexander Luthor Jr., the philosopher. There was blah blah blah, and then going forward is like there was like Steve Luth,
Yeah.
the painter, and the name just gets shorter and shorter until it just becomes L.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to Jor-El, who was a brilliant scientist deep in the future, who was like, oh well, shit going on this planet means the planet is about to end, but I've invented a time machine.
And then they send little baby Kal-El back in time, and the whole thing starts all over again.
That's why time travel is hard to do in movies. There had to be a first time,
But does there?
Yes. That's how we work in time. But no, I can suspend that disbelief. But the fact that that's not in this movie is like, that was like the best gotcha moment in a comic ever.
Well, the only possibility, I didn't watch after the credits. I guess there could have been something after the credits, but I don't think so.
Why wouldn't you watch after the credits? That's like what you're supposed to do now.
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up real quick.
I was going to say, like, here's the thing. It's like, up until like, I don't know, 2008, most movies had nothing after the credits. Now they fucking all do. Thanks to Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr., making it so that when the movie's over, you have to sit in your seat and look at boring shit for 20 minutes.
So yeah, I don't see anything about an after credit scene.
So they got rid of a lot of
interesting part of the story.
Excuse me. I got the Rona. So they got rid of most of the character depth to anyone that wasn't Superman. They kill Lana Lang, even though she was barely in the comic. She didn't die like that.
Mm-hmm.
She was more like, kind of like, even though Superman narrates lots of parts of it, Lana Lang was kind of always there to be like the audience proxy, to be conveying what the general public feels. So she would pop up randomly to be like, oh, actually, yeah, the whole deal with Peter and the reveal of Peter, it was Lana Lang that was there seeing that. Or Lana Langichnikov, Nova.
I kept timing out. What are we at?
I don't know.
Well, how long does it say we're recording for?
Doesn't.
Okay. Well, it's been a long time.
It's been a long, long time in rock and roll. Anyway,
so that is my review and Chris's reaction to Superman Red Son. Hopefully the next movie that DC puts out, animated movie specifically, will be a little bit more in line with what we're used to seeing, the level of perfection we're used to seeing from them.
Yes. Well, not everything can be a home run. At least they tried. Why am I being nice about this? No, wait. What I meant to say was, as per my usual, is here we go, DC, at it again. Sacrificing character for spectacle. I get it. And now you did it to one of your most popular characters. And some would say, you done it again. But hey, I'm sure it entertained some people. I'm sure some simple idiots liked it. But I'm kidding. It's okay. No, I don't think anyone is an idiot. Simple, maybe, but not an idiot. But anyway, that was Red Son. That was my Telecaster. And I love you. Be safe. Wash your damn hands. It's not a cold. And stay nerdy.